Hello and welcome to today's video. I hope you're doing great. My name is Anna. I like to make things and I live in Washington in the United States. Yeah, a little about me. I am about to graduate with my master's degree in about a month. It's crunch time, so let's see how it goes. But yeah, that's a little bit about me. Today I want to talk to you all about what I've been knitting on this month. I don't have any acquisitions physically with me, but they're supposed to come tomorrow, so I'm going to talk about them and then I'll just overlay some footage. And then I also have I just have so many knitting plans. I don't know how anyone can finish a project and not know what to knit next, because I have like my next 18 projects lined up ready to go. So I'll talk to you a little bit about what's coming next. But yeah, that is what we're gonna get into today. So to start, I will show you my first finished object, which you saw in my last video because it was almost done. Yeah, this is my Aros sweater by PetiteKnit. And my lovely Aros sweater is made in a single strand of lopi, which is the unspun Icelandic yarn. So here she is. I will put in a cutaway of me wearing it so you can actually see what it looks like. But yes, I used 4 colors of lopi. This is light beige, marsh, ivory, clover green. And I really like how this sweater turned out. It fits really, really well. Like just a lovely fitting sweater. It's a saddle shoulder construction, you can kind of see here, which I really like because it makes the stripes look a little bit less broken. So if you do like a raglan striped sweater, you get like a break, like an angle where the stripes change as you're going down the raglan, and then a yoked sweater, you don't get that, but I just feel like the stripes end up looking a bit strange because they're kind of stretched across your whole yoke. Whereas this, there's a tiny bit of an angle at those arm increases, but when you put your arms down or when the sweater's just hanging loose, it just looks like straight lines, which I think works beautifully for stripes. I just think it looks really good. So I really like this. I think this construction, I would love to make this pattern again, but in a short sleeve version. I just think the fit is really, really nice on this sweater. It's not as oversized as a lot of other PetiteKnit patterns. It's one of her older patterns, I think. So it's not as size inclusive, but it's also not as oversized, and there's just a lot. It's just really nice. I think it's underrated for sure. So yes, I made mine in a single strand of lopi, so it's extremely lightweight. This whole sweater weighs like, I think I weighed it at like 230 something grams, so it's extremely lightweight, but it's super warm. And I was making this because I had leftovers of lopi, and I still have leftovers of every single one of these colors after making a whole sweater with them. So I think I don't know what I'm going to do with those leftovers, but the yarn went really, really far. So it would be, that 200 and some odd grams would be 2.5 plates of lopi, which is, each lopi is about 300 meters. So 3, 6, it was probably about 750, 800 meters, which is really not a lot of yarn. Granted, it is more fitted, the arms are more fitted, and the body's a little closer cut, but it's not a lot of yardage. Lopi in the US runs about $10 a plate, so if you wanted to make one of these, you'd have to get 3 plates, and that's less, you know, $30, you could get it on sale. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. Unfortunately, we've kind of come out of the season where it's appropriate for me to wear this now. These colors are kind of more autumn colors than they are spring colors. But maybe I can get one more wear out of it before it's too warm. And I have to pack it up for winter. But I will really enjoy wearing this in the fall. The only thing that I had trouble with is that my ribbing just looks horribly untidy in this single skein of lopi. I know, I mean, I'm sure it'll look fine to you all, but I just think it looks a little wonky. Because usually, I don't know, 1x1 ribbing is hard to get to look beautifully neat, but the nature of this yarn and how sticky it is, it looks especially wonky. I did do a folded over neckband and then sewed it down, and it was still a little gapey, so I put an elastic in it to bring it into this nice shape, and it fits beautifully. So I'm really happy with this. I would really recommend it. I did an Italian bind off on the cuffs, but I did a regular bind off on the bottom because I've bound off an Italian bind off with Lopi before, double stranded. I was not going to try and do Italian bind off single stranded, and it's not super stretchy, like, but it's fine. And no one looks at my bind off on the hem of my sweater and it's like, it's not Italian, doesn't match the rest of your sweater. So yeah. The only other thing that I learned from this sweater that I think is a valuable piece of information is that I have a tendency, so after you do the kind of front increases and the side increases, you do some raglan increases before you separate for sleeves. And I've discovered that I have a tendency to do my increases on the either side of the raglan stitch really, really tightly. And you can kind of see, like, it wants to shrink back up. I really had to pull it when blocking. And there's no reason for me to do them that tightly. I can loosen them up as much as I need to. So, that was a good thing to learn. I feel like it's been a while and I probably should have done that by now, but yeah, I've figured that out and now it's helping a lot in some of my current projects. So yeah, the only other thing that about the Lopi is that I did not weave in any of my ends because I hate weaving in ends. My mom makes fun of me for it, but you can kind of see right here. The nice thing about Lopi is that they kind of felt and just stick. But then after a little while, I started weaving them in as I go. So it's a little cleaner there. So word to the wise, weave in your ends as you go if you're doing stripes. Yeah, you can see like the first bits of the sleeve I didn't, and then the rest of it I did. So that made a big difference. And by weaving them in as I go, I just basically treat the ends as like a float in color work, and I just catch them like every other stitch until they're done. And so that really helps. I think it's called the Weave and Steven method if you wanted to look up a video of how to do that, but it's really simple and makes my life so much easier. So I did weave in my little end at the bottom. I just didn't break it off. So there you go. There you go, Mom. Weaves, ends woven in. Yeah, I had one more thing to say about this and then I completely forgot. So I think it looks kind of cool on the inside, but anyway. Yeah, that is that on my lovely Aros sweater. The fit is beautiful, the colors are fun, and I'm really happy with it. I just love Lopi. I love Icelandic wool. It's so special. There's something just like really therapeutic and special about working with it. I know it's scratchy and a bit can be really difficult to wear for some people, and like even sometimes it will start, I'm not super sensitive, but it will kind of bother me on occasion, but it's just so special. It just feels right in my hands when I'm working with it. It makes me want to knit. Like I just want to knit on whatever project I'm using Lopi in. I've used Lopi in 4 or 5 projects now. It's so magical. I just think it's a really special yarn. That was what I wanted to tell you, is that I did knit it. I was a little bit worried that I was going to run out of this white color. It was the color I had the least amount of. So I ended up knitting, like I would do a stripe on the body and then I would do a stripe on each arm. So I ended up knitting basically the whole thing all at once. And then these last couple of stripes, I did one of them. I did this green stripe 2 at a time, and then I was like, this is a pain and I don't want to juggle these 2 balls of yarn. And then I ended up, I think I might have just after that done straight one sleeve, straight the other sleeve. But for the most part, I knit them to kind of all at the same time, which was really nice because then there was never really like a body island, sleeve island situation. I don't know if I could do that normally, but with stripes, it's so easy to be like, okay, I've knit this, now I'm going to make it even. Yeah, I found the stripes really nice to knit because you could very clearly see your progress. There were very clear markers for like, okay, It's 11:30 p.m. I need to go to sleep, but I have 2 more rows until the end of my stripe. So I'm gonna do my last 2 rows, like a little easier to discipline yourself. And I love it. It turned out great. So very pleased with it. It's lovely, and I would definitely recommend this pattern if you're looking for a PetiteKnit pattern that's not one of our other 150 something patterns. It's really great. So that's my first finished object. My second finished object of the month are also lopi. These are my Let Lopi socks, which I told you I was going to be making in my last video. I got this yarn when I was in Iceland to make Let Lopi socks out of, and I have, and they were so lovely to knit, and they're so cozy to wear. They're basically slippers. They're really thick, and they're a little bit big for me, but they're just so great. I love this color. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head or the number, but it's just the most beautiful color. It's like a cool brown gray. I just think it's so nice, and I would love a sweater in this color. Ugh, and you know, there's just something so magical about this yarn. If you can kind of, I don't know, just feeling the fabric like underneath the fuzzy guard hair halo, it's almost like cool. Plotu Lopi is very dry, but Let Lopi has a different feeling. It's like smooth and cool, and I do understand that I'm currently petting my socks, but I love these. I really, really do. The pattern that I used is the Basic Bed Socks, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. I don't remember the designer's name, but it's from, I believe, courtesy of a yarn store. And they are a toe-up sock, which this is my second time doing toe-up. Generally, I prefer cuff down because I like the heel flap and gusset construction, but this pattern I found a lot better than the previous toe-up sock that I had done. So yeah, it's toe up. You start with the little magic cast on and do your increases. It's a free pattern, so I'm happy to tell you about it. And then knit, 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 do your short row heel, and then knit the leg and the cuff, and then you're done. My issue with this was that I am very particular about the way that socks fit me, and I feel like all of my hand knit socks are a little bit too big, except for the one pair of socks that I showed you last month, which are a little bit too small. So I was trying to be very cognizant of that, and then I knew this yarn would grow when it was washed. So I ended up knitting the foot and the heel turn several times. So I knit the foot and the full heel turn. I knit the heel turn 4 times on the first sock because the first time I knit it was too long, and I didn't have a whole, like, the way that these German short rows work in this pattern were a little confusing to me. I figured it out after that, but I knit it the one time my normal way. It didn't work. I ripped it back. I did it the way the pattern tells you to. I figured it out. And then it was too long, and so I ripped it back, and then I had to rip more out of the foot, and then I did it a 4th time. It was like a whole hullabaloo, and they're still a little bit big now that I've been wearing them, but it's fine. They're great. I love them. They're so lovely. But yeah, I ended up having to knit I think between like where I finished my toe and my heel turn is only this much. It's not a lot of real estate. It was like 20 rows or something. These I knit with Let Lopi, which is like a worsted weight yarn, on a 3.5 millimeter needle. So they knit up extremely quickly. The first one took me like a week of intermittent working. The second one I did in like 24 hours. And so yeah, I think I have 2 more. Okay, I'm like all over the place today. I bought 2 skeins of this color to make these socks, because I wasn't sure how much I was going to need for a chunkier weight of sock. What I found was that I ended up, each of these socks was about 30 grams of yarn, maybe 32. So I have about 40 grams. I used 35 grams of one from one ball, 35 grams of the other from the other ball. So the remnants from the 2 balls, I had 100 grams. I have about 40 grams left. And then I have 2 more 100-gram quantities of Let Lopi that I bought to make socks with. So knowing that I can get a sock out of 60 grams and I have 40 grams left over, and each sock is about a little less than 40 grams means that I can do like contrast heels and cuffs with some of my colors. I could do, basically I can get 3 pairs of solid color socks and then probably another 2 pairs of mix and match socks out of the yarn that I bought for them, was what I wanted to say. And then I have about 40 grams of a leftover skein from another project. So I'm gonna end up, if I continue to use my Let Lopi just for Let Lopi socks, I will end up with like 7 pairs of Let Lopi socks, which I'm not complaining about because they're so nice. They're like slipper socks, but I love them. They're so great. Yeah, it's a short row heel. You can see. So I don't know that I want to do the same exact like pattern for every one of my 400 million pairs of Let Lopi socks, but I like that I started with the toe up because now I know that like my foot needs to be a little less than this long. I like this length of leg. It's not as short as my my worsted weight socks that I did in my previous video, which I don't know where they are. I would show them to you. They're a little bit longer, but they're not super long. And then the cuff, and I did an Italian bind off because this isn't a lot of stitches. It's like 48 stitches. It's a 48 stitch sock. So it was super easy. The only thing that was kind of weird is that this is the same amount of rows of ribbing and one is slightly longer than the other. I want to line them up so you can see. Yeah, that's the same amount of rows of ribbing, the front and the back, but the back is a little taller. I think my must have just loosened up my gauge for the second sock, so that's this one. But yes, these are my Lopi socks. I'm obsessed with them. I would 100% recommend Lopi socks. They're divine. They're so fast to knit up. If it's your first pair of socks or you want to try a new sock construction, like you're a top-down gal and you want to try toe up, they're so fast, they're so easy. Ugh, they're the best. I'm so excited. I have not cast on another pair yet because I'm working on some gift knit socks, but soon I will be casting on another pair of these because they're wonderful. I have like commercial socks on right now, but I just want to put these on over top of them. They look crazy and silly because they're big and chunky, but they're so comfortable. So warm. So lovely. When I had just finished the one and I was waiting to finish the other one, I was wearing it around, just the one sock, for a while because I love it so much. I love it so much. They're the best. They're so cozy. Ugh, I love them. So yes, moral of the story, go make yourself some Lopi socks because they're the best. Okay, last finished object. I have another sweater. This lovely lady is my sweater. Sorry about the ends. This is my sweater number 11 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and this is knit in a reclaimed yarn. If you are interested in learning about reclaiming yarn, I have a video all about it. I will link it for you so that you can see. But this is a wool, so merino, cashmere, angora, nylon blend yarn. It's actually yarn from 2 sweaters with a very similar content, but and they're like both whites, but one's more of an off-white than the other. So I held a single strand of each together to get this. They're like a fingering weight, sport weight yarn. So I ended up with a DK worsted weight gauge, more of a worsted weight. I think it's 17 stitches per 10 centimeters. It's incredibly soft. It's delightfully soft. And this, man, I'm really happy with the finished product, but this was a slog. This was a slog. The body took forever, and I'm a pretty fast knitter. Like, I can churn out a sweater 10 days, 2 weeks pretty easily. This guy, I think I had casted it on, I was a whip in the last episode. I had casted it on end of March, and I finished it end of April. I finished it like a couple of days ago. I've worn it twice already. But yeah, it felt like it was a slog, especially on the body. The sleeves went super quick once I finished the body, but geez, the body was a real pain in my ASS. So here she is. Oh, I've got a hair on it already. There are so many hairs on it. Okay. I have a couple thoughts about this pattern. It's a very popular pattern. My Favorite Things Knitwear does beautiful things, very beautiful, simple basics. And I picked this pattern specifically because it has this really pretty detail on the back. There are like a million drop shoulder plain sweaters on Ravelry. But I picked this pattern specifically because of the pretty details that it has. And this is another example of where my increases were super tight because this is like pulled as tight as it can just to be stretched out, and so I can kind of feel it when I'm wearing it, that tight band of stitches on the back of my shoulder. So again, I gotta be cognizant of the tension in my increases. But anyway, I'm very happy with the finished project, but I do have some thoughts on the pattern. I find that the armholes are like disproportionately short for how big and wide the body is. So you can't, it doesn't even fit in the freaking frame. But you can see like this is a very large body and the armholes are very short. So in the pattern, a lot of her instructions are by row gauge, which I don't feel like anyone ever checks their row gauge to make sure it's right. So I wish she would put like lengths, physical, like centimeter or inch lengths in the pattern. But if I was to make this again, I would definitely make my armhole quite a bit larger, probably at least another inch deeper, just because I felt like it would fit a little bit better with the way that the pattern falls on my body. I made the smallest size, by the way. There are only 3 sizes in this pattern, which is a bit disappointing, but they have so much positive ease that there's like some wiggle room there. I made the smallest size, which I think is like 116 centimeters of positive ease, and I have like a 94 centimeter bust, so lots of positive ease on me, but not in the arms. And because the armhole is so narrow, the arms are quite thin, they're not fitted, but they're slim, and I wish they were a little bit looser. And they're also basically like a straight tube. I kind of wish that there was a bit more of an angle to them. And then again, I knit them to pattern length, like to the correct length in the pattern. And they feel a little bit short, like you'll see in the video, but basically the sweater with the cuff hits me just after my wrist, maybe just at my wrist when my arms are straight. So once I've been wearing it and the elbow kind of pulls and stretches, it ends up being like about here on my wrist, which is fine. But for a sweater that's this big and oversized, I really want the sleeves to be longer. Like I want them to hit middle of my hand so that I can kind of pull them up over my knuckles. So that's the only thing, is that the sleeves feel a little bit short. And I'm trying to decide if it's going to bother me or not, but I don't, before I go back and add a little bit more length, but I just really don't want to have to re-knit this ribbing because it's full twisted rib. It's twisted knits and twisted purls. It takes ages and it really hurts the top of my hands. Twisted rib is like one of the only knitting things that hurts me, and it really hurts the top of my hands to do twisted knits and purls, and it's 8 centimeters of that. This is 24 rows for me. I don't want to do that again. I don't. So I'm trying, I mean, I could cut and graft, but something about that feels weird. So I'm trying to decide if I can live with the stitches or the sleeves as they are, or if I should lengthen them a little bit. The other thing is that I did modify the collar. The original pattern has like a 20 centimeter long, full twisted rib, rolled neck, like turtleneck collar. That was not happening from the beginning before I even started knitting this stupid twisted rib. I knew I didn't want a turtleneck because I wanted this to be more of like an all seasons garment where I could wear it over like a dress in the springtime and still wear it in the winter and be very warm. Granted, this yarn is so soft, it would be really lovely right on your neck, but I did not want that. Oh gosh, I already got makeup on it. Okay, anyway, so I did a fold over neckband, and I picked up pretty much the number of stitches the pattern recommends. If you want to do a fold over neckband, pick up fewer stitches, because as you can see, it's kind of, well, here you can see especially because of when I was binding, I ended up knitting it down and somehow got a little wonky, so I had to knit down more stitches over here, so it's a little bit bulkier. But it's just, I think if you're doing a fold over neckband, you need to pick up like 10, maybe even 15 fewer stitches, so just that it fits a little bit more nicely, because I had to put an elastic in this one as well, because otherwise it was like flaring out for a real one. You can kind of see on the inside of the collar right here, if I'm not stretching it, how scrunched up those stitches are. So yeah, pick up fewer stitches if you are doing a folded over neckband. But other than that, I mean, it's a really versatile sweater. I've worn it, like I said, twice already since I finished it like 4 days ago, which is annoying because I did not really enjoy making this because it was so boring. It was so much stockinette, and then the twisted rib was painful. But that's the thing that I've discovered over the last couple of months is the stuff that I enjoy knitting, I don't end up wearing as often. Like my colorwork sweaters and my like more intricate cabled things, I don't wear them, which is so annoying because they're so much more fun to knit. And I've worn this a ton and it was a pain to knit. So I have to just come to terms with the fact that I'm gonna have to knit more plain stockinette if I want to actually wear my knits. So yes, that was my discovery of the month. But yes, and I finally finished this and it took forever. It felt like forever. I'm sure for most people it's like I knit this in like a month, so it's really not that long, but it felt like forever. But it turned out beautifully, so I'm happy with it, and it fits lovely and it's so soft. So yeah, that's my sweater number 11 from My Favorite Things Knitwear. Definitely would make some modifications if I make this pattern again, but for the most part, pretty happy with it. So yeah, that is it for my finished objects. It's 3 things, it's not nothing, but I just felt like I spent my entire life knitting that stupid sweater's body over the month of April. Okay, on to workies in progress. I've got 4, which is unusual for me, but one of them is like a long-term project. So yeah, I usually try to stick to around 3 whips, but I'm not feeling super inspired by a lot of these projects right now, so that's probably why I have so many. Okay, this is my Ballerina wrap top by Two of Wands, which I think I cast it on in March and then it just sat with like 2 rounds casted on, so I didn't actually count it as a whip for a while. And then I finally picked it up again after I finished my Aros sweater. But here she is. This is a very popular pattern. It's a free pattern. It's a lovely little short sleeve wrap style top. So it's knit fully flat, which is really fun. I hate knitting flat. It just takes forever. But it's a really cute little top. So I'm knitting this with a discontinued yarn. It's that I got at a Goodwill. I don't have the ball band near me, but I'll put it here. It's a UK brand, and this color is not normally something I would go for. I just feel like it's not maybe the perfect color for me, which is kind of why I thought it would be nice for this top, which is more of like a springtime wearing with other things top. I don't know. But yes, I have done the whole front and I'm working on, it's a V-neck. I'm working on that, got the body. I've probably got about 2/3 of the body done. It's a little bit cropped. So yeah, that's where I'm at on this. It's been nice to knit on. The only thing is that because it's a free pattern, it's on her website, and so it's kind of not super easy to navigate. You can buy a PDF of the pattern if you want to, but I'm stingy, so I'm using the free pattern on the website. It is extremely size inclusive. There's tons of sizes. I think it goes from like an extra small to a 4XL or 5XL. So very accessible, and which is nice. But I'm knitting the 3rd size, a medium, which is just about, I think it'll give me maybe like 1 inch of positive ease. It's pretty fitted to my body, which is how it's intended to be. And yeah, I think she does a really good job of like, the increase rate for the front is kind of unique. She made it like, it's not a uniform increase rate throughout the whole sweater. It's kind of like unique up here, and then once you get a little bit further down to where like past where it will cross on your body, it goes out straight. But she put a lot of thought and time into figuring out the increase rate, which is really nice. And yeah, it's in the pattern it's meant to be short sleeves, but I have a good amount of this yarn, so my plan is to knit it long sleeve once I finish the body, because I have, yeah, like I said, I have a good amount of this yarn. Here, maybe I can like do a little try on for you to see how it's fitting on me. Yeah, so it's fitting, yeah, over my t-shirt, very lovely. But yes, this is about where we are, just over the, under the boobs, and got a little cap sleeve. So this is where, like, basically this is the sleeve that's in the pattern, but I want to knit a long sleeve version. There are so many people on Ravelry and on Instagram that have knit long sleeve versions of this. I think my plan is just to knit a straight sleeve and then do a rapid decrease before the I-cord bind off, because it does have I-cord details, which I think is really pretty. But yeah, I want it to be a little bit looser on the sleeve. So that's my plan, is I'll just do a straight sleeve and then rapid decreases, and I may end up doing kind of like a bracelet length sleeve for this. It feels more appropriate for the sweater as it's fitted, you know, just feels right. But yeah, so that's my ballerina wrap top. It's not very exciting, but it's coming along. I have probably, I don't know, I've got a bit more to do on the body. I am a little bit under gauge on this. I need to block it and see if it will grow a little bit more. Otherwise, I need to start following the instructions for the larger pattern, just so it's long enough on my body to like actually cover me up. So yes, I'm very much a proponent of a mid-project block, just to see how things are working out, how your fabric's going to turn out. So I may end up doing that once I get a little bit further on the body. So yeah, there's my little top. It'll be cute for spring. And I'm excited about it. I've spent a good amount of time working on this, and it's so slow because it's flat. So yeah, that's that. My next whip, which is a more recent start, but I've made quite a lot of progress on. I worked on this for many hours yesterday when I should have been writing my thesis, which I have to turn in a month. I don't want to talk about it. This looks crazy right now, but this is the Rubus blouse, which I'll put a picture of, by Refined Knitwear. It's a really pretty puff sleeve top. It's with a square neck. I'm making the square neck version that I think is really beautiful and elegant for springtime. And I'm making this in another unspun yarn. This is a discontinued yarn. They actually don't sell it anymore. This is from a Canadian brand called White Buffalo, and it's this really pretty blue kind of heathery color. I really like it. It came in like one giant 200-gram cake, and it was skeined up like 5 or 6 plies together. So I very gently unplied it, and I should have just enough to make this top from the little 200 grams. So yeah, here it is. I've just joined in the front for the square neck. It was knit flat for a while to shape the neck, but I just joined in the round. The raglan, it's a raglan increased sweater, and then you do some increases, some rapid increases to make the puff sleeve. So this will end up being, hold on, this is my sleeve, which is going to be lovely and puffy and cute. So yeah, that's where I'm at on this. But the raglan increases on this are very pretty. You end up doing them in a way that gives you these really lovely little eyelets, which is a sweet little detail. And then yeah, it's going to be so cute. I'm really excited for this. But yeah, I'm basically knitting, again, stockinette in the round forever for a while. So, but it's a short sleeve shirt, so hopefully it'll go a little bit faster. And yeah, this is where I'm at. I have, I think, 4 more sets of raglan increases before I separate for sleeves. So it's coming along at a lovely pace, and I'm just excited to have this for spring. I think it's really pretty and lovely and very feminine and cute, and I'm quite happy with it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say on it. It's not much, but it'll probably be done by the next time I see you. Actually, maybe not. I really am gonna have to do less knitting this month because I have to do a lot of writing. So TBD on what next month's finished object section is gonna look like. But yeah, there's my little Rubus blouse coming along in the unspun. Yeah, my next work in progress, here, I will show you, is a bit of a saga. This is the, now I can't even remember the name of it. Is it the Erica? Yes, it's the Erica cardigan by Sari Nordland. It's a free pattern from Novita Knits, and it's an all over color work cardigan. And so when I was in Scandinavia, I bought a bunch of Hillesvåg Solje, which is a lovely Norwegian wool, to make this sweater with. I bought a brown, a blue, and a gray. And the gray is the base color of the yarn that the other colors are dyed over. And so the light blue of the Solje just there was not enough contrast between the blue and the gray. So I ripped it back and then I started again. I cast on a sleeve and I used a blue from my stash that I have that is a little bit more of a contrast, and I've done one full repeat of the pattern, and this is what I have. And I'm really happy with the way that the colors look. You can see it's not super high contrast, but there is enough contrast now between the gray and the blue, and I'll put a picture in so you can see there was not before. But yeah, this is where I'm at. And I finished this a couple of weeks ago and I haven't touched it since because I'm just trying to decide about the size of this. This is a sleeve and it's fitting me a little bit slimmer than I want it to. First of all, the tension on this repeat is much tighter than the tension on the other repeats, so that's not great. I might need to rip that back and do it again. But I'm trying to decide if I want... this is blocked also. I think I want the sleeve to be a good bit larger than this. Like it's fitting quite tightly. And I mean, even if I do it a little bit longer, I'm just trying to decide if I want to rip this back and do it again at a little bit of a larger size or if I'm okay with it. Now that I'm trying it on again, I think I'm okay with it. Especially if it ends up being like about there. Yeah, maybe it's okay. I do think it's really pretty. I don't love this repeat, honestly. Part of me wants to kind of cut it out, but maybe it's nice to have that break in between all these heavy and darker repeats. This one is definitely my favorite. I think it's really pretty. It has like, you can either be X's the way you look at it or these like things. Anyway, I also like this one. So that's where I have so far. Now that I'm looking at it again, I could just knit the sleeves a little bit longer and they won't be quite as tight. So yeah, I'm also modifying this pattern quite heavily. In the instructions, it's knit flat. There was no way in heaven or hell I was going to do that. So I have knit it in the round and I'm going to be steeking the body. But yes. And then I also added a little purl stitch on the inside to show where the middle of it is. And it just looks bad. Honestly, it looks kind of bad. So now that I think I might rip this back again and knit this whole repeat again, just to try and get my tension a little bit nicer and make it look a little bit nicer on the inside. But yeah, the tension in this repeat is really bothering me. I don't know. It's just like I can't stretch it or else it'll start to distort the pattern. So I'm thinking I'm going to rip this back and do it again. And because I'm already modifying the pattern quite heavily, I realized last night that I could cast on the number of stitches for the sleeve in like a size or two larger than the body that I'm knitting. And then when I sew them on, just make the sleeve holes the right size accordingly. So I may end up doing that. So basically what I'm telling you is that I've now knit this quite a few times and I'm probably going to knit it again. Rip it back and do it again. I'm also trying to decide if I want to incorporate a fifth color into this. I kind of want to incorporate a bit of yellow to lift it a little bit, which I would probably put like in the middle of this motif, just like a tiny little hint here and there. So yeah, I think I would put it in the middle of this motif and maybe the middle of this motif. Just something really small to brighten it up a little bit. I don't know. I could always duplicate stitch it on afterwards. But that's where I'm at right now. So now that I'm looking at it, I think I am going to rip it back. You can just see like the tension on this repeat is way tighter and it's going to bother me. And this little seam of the back looks awful. So I think I will rip it back and do it one more time. But I'm not in any rush to finish this project. This is a long-term project. I'm not going to be able to wear it until it gets colder anyway. So yeah. But yeah, you can see if I pull on this at all, it really distorts that repeat. So I'm probably gonna rip it back, which is fine. I'm totally okay ripping things back, but yeah, this is how it is. This is how she looks. It's very pretty. I also had a thought the other day that I have enough of this light blue color that I'm using to probably make that the background color. I was like, oh, maybe I'll switch it around, but I just think I like the color story of this. It's pretty. So I'll probably keep it this way. But yeah, that's my little colorwork cardigan that has been a saga. I started recording like a knitting vlog of it, but it's going to be such a long-term project that I don't think I'm going to keep doing that, just because I'm going to end up, it's going to be quite a trial and error process. So yeah, that's where I'm at on this lovely little cuff, my cardigan that someday will be a full colorwork cardigan, but that day is not today. So that's where I'm at on that. I love it, but it's a long-term project and it's like a process knit for me. I'm really enjoying. I really like working color work. It's just like very therapeutic and I love watching the motifs emerge. So I'm not in any rush to finish that. That's more of just like a fun project that I can work on here and there. My last project, which doesn't look like much because I've ripped it back like 3 times already today, is a little sock. I just got the idea, I don't know why, but I want to make socks for my grandmas. I have both my lovely maternal and paternal grandmothers are still alive and they're wonderful women and I love them, and I just don't feel like I've told them that enough over my life. They're great and I just feel like I haven't done enough to appreciate them. So I decided I would knit them some socks. And I did hand dye this yarn, which I made a video about. I will probably post it in the next couple of weeks, a video about how I dyed this yarn. But I just started this sock and I started a couple of lacy patterns, but the yarn is very, it's not going to focus. This is like a 2-ply yarn. It's actually a tapestry yarn, like a embroidery yarn, but it's just a 2-ply, and so it's not super plump. And so we're doing all these lacy socks and I just feel like it didn't work. The yarn didn't work for the lace. So I think I'm going to end up doing just an improvised sock. I've done twisted rib, and then I think I'm going to just do like a little round of eyelets at the top and then just do a vanilla sock on the rest of the way down. Maybe I'll try a new heel method from my folk sock book. Gosh, I can't speak. But yeah, I think I'm going to end up just doing a vanilla sock. I think it'll show off the yarn a little bit better. I did hand dye this and there's some like speckly bits. I'm not sure you're going to be able to see in the skein. Focus on the yarn, please. There we go. You can kind of see there's like a little bit of speckling in it, and I think just stockinette would show that off a little bit better. You can kind of see it. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it in the cuff of the yarn as well. There's a little bit of that color. Yeah, you can kind of see like up in here there's some blue and some pink. So I think a stockinette will just show it off a little bit better. It will also be faster for me to knit. My grandma's coming up for my graduation at the beginning of June, so I want to finish these for when she's here so I can give them to her. So yeah, I think I'm going to end up improvising these and I'm excited about them. They'll be lovely. They're just an easy knit. It's a 64 stitch sock on 2.5mm needles. So yeah, that's the story on these. Not much else to say about them, but they're coming along and hopefully I'll have them done by the time I need to have them done. So yeah, that's my works in progress for today. I did last time talk to you about another sock that I've kind of abandoned. It just wasn't fitting right and I was finding it fiddly and annoying, so I've abandoned that project. Rest in peace. But I'm not sad about it. I'm not shy about abandoning projects that aren't working for me. So yeah, that's all my knitting for the time being. I have an acquisition which has not arrived yet, but I do want to show you. So I will put some like cutaway footage of it while I'm talking about it. I don't know how I came across the patterns from this book. It's the Sendness Garn pattern book. Their February 2022 edition. It's called Soft for Women in English. The patterns in it are beautiful. And I saw them after I got back from my trip to Scandinavia. I found these patterns and they're beautiful. And then Inga from Knitting Traditions, who I love and obsessed with, she bought this pattern book as well, and she was showing some of the patterns in it, and they're just so nice. So I went on like a psycho crazy mission to hunt down this pattern book. I looked at on the website of every single yarn store in the US and Canada that carries Sendness Garn to try and find a copy of this magazine in stock that I could get shipped to me. none of them had it in stock. So then I started looking at tons of yarn stores all over Europe that carry Sundness garn that could ship it to me. And there were plenty of stores that had it and it would ship it to me, but it was going to be like, I don't know, between 20 and 30 euros just for the shipping to ship this pattern booklet to me, this like $12 pattern booklet. So I was like, okay, I have a friend that's going to Spain soon. Like maybe I can have her shipped it to her and she can bring it home with me. No stores in Spain carried it. I have a friend that lives in Germany. I was like, oh, maybe I can get it shipped to her. She can scan it to me. But I really like, if I'm going to spend the money on this pattern book, I want to have the physical book. So in the end, I did order it after like a week of looking at hundreds of yarn store websites, trying to find this pattern book. Like it was like consuming my every living thought. I ended up ordering it from knit.co.uk, which I'm sure you've heard about if you watch any of the British knitting podcasters. The woman who owns the shop is Simona, and apparently she's really wonderful. And I ended up ordering it from her because she had it in stock. The shipping was $22, which just is like physically painful for me. I paid $8 for this pattern book or $9 and it's $22 to ship it to me. So I decided if I was going to spend all that money to get it shipped to me, I was going to buy some yarn as well to kind of, you know, even it out. And I ended up buying 7 skeins of Drops silk mohair in this lovely green shade that you'll see here. Because I needed a mohair to pair with this green yarn that I have in my stash, which I will also show you in the cutaway. But I needed a mohair to pair with it. I've tried to find patterns that I wouldn't have to pair a mohair with it, and I couldn't. So I ended up buying this mohair. I'd seen it in real life. I saw the color of this mohair when we were traveling last month, and knew it would work with this yarn. I just didn't buy it when I was there because I didn't feel like I needed it. But then when I did this order from Simona, I ended up getting all the stock she had left of it, 7 skeins. And I've decided now that I've been waiting for it to come very impatiently that I'm going to use the mohair and the wool that I have in my stash to make the formation sweater by Popkn. Her name is Katja Dannenberg. I think she's a Danish designer. I've made a sweater of her before. I've made a sweater of hers before, the Diamond and Pearls sweater, which is beautiful. I don't wear it very often, but it is a really beautiful pattern. And I've loved the formation sweater for a really long time now. It's a really pretty like faux honeycomb textured, all over textured sweater. And I just think it will look really nice in this yarn. I found a project on Instagram of this sweater in a green and I just think it looks really nice. So I'm good. That's my plan for the yarn. The pattern book though, which I was just like so enthralled by, it's because there's a couple patterns in there that I just like could not get out of my head. One of them is the cherry dress, which I will show you a picture of here. It's just this kind of raglan dress. And originally I wanted to make the Bina dress by Gregoria Fibers, but then I found this dress and I was like, no, this is the one. I have this yarn in my stash that I've had for almost a year now. That's like a cotton merino blend. It's really beautiful, but I have 1,900 meters of it and I just bought it with no plan. And then I saw this cherry dress and I was like, this is what it has to be. So it's going to be a mammoth of a project because it's plain stockinette just for miles. It's basically like a maxi dress. I love the one that the model is wearing. It's gorgeous. And it just looks so nice for summer, especially where I live, where summer is like warm, but it's not really hot. And you could wear a dress like that in the summer, a wool cotton dress. So I'm like so excited to start working on that. It's going to be a marathon project as well, but I think it'll be really nice to have. So I'm super excited about that. And then there's a couple other patterns in this book that I want to make. The Guernsey sweater is really beautiful. They just did a knit along for it on the Sundness Garn Instagram. It's this lovely textured, it's kind of like the PetiteKnit Ingrid sweater, but a little different. And then there's the Amy slipover, which the Sundness Garn is just about to start a knit along. I think it actually started today. Start a knit along for it on their Instagram. And it's this like slipover, but it has these really pretty ties on the side that I think is really lovely. What else is in there? The Frankie sweater, which I know Inga just finished a version of, is really cute. It also has like a really long section of twisted rib, but it's really pretty. There's another one in there. that has, it's like a raglan version. I don't know. There's so many things that I'm really excited about in that pattern book, and I just cannot wait for it to get here. It's at the post office. It should be delivered tomorrow, and I'm very excited. Okay, my package from Knit just came, so I figured I'd do a little unboxing with you. Open it up. There's my packing slip. And here's my yarn. I want you to see my address. Here's my book. Oh, it's like very thick. It's very much a book. It got a little crumpled on the journey across the ocean. But I'm just so excited about the patterns in this book. They're so good. I really like this zipper sweater. Like, look how pretty that is. This is the Amy slipover I was talking about. There's the Gia zipper sweater. This is called the Blue sweater. Please tell me this is in English. Which I think is really pretty. This is the Guernsey sweater. Isn't that really pretty, that texture? I like it a lot. This is the Frankie sweater that Inga made. It's so good with that really long ribbing. This is the cherry dress. Just that, does that not look so divine? Ugh, I'm so excited to cast this on. This Jolie sweater is very pretty. This is another dress. Oh, that's the Amy slipover. This is, I think, called the Hazel dress. But, like, I love the little ties on the side. Yeah, there we go. This is the Hazel dress. This is the sweater version of the cherry dress. I just really like it. It has these like folded hem details that are very cute. And then there's this, I think it's called the Jewels sweater, which is like 100, it's all mohair, but it's this very pretty like textured yoke. It's gorgeous. I'm so excited to knit from this. And then here is my yarn from Simona. Oh, it's so soft. That is a really lovely soft mohair. Let's see how well it matches my yarn that I have. Sorry, my room is a mess. Okay, so they're not like a perfect match, but I think when I blend them together, they'll make a really pretty color. Yes, I'm so excited. I know that you see this, but this I'm using for another project, and it's a little bit thicker. It's a wool mohair blend. It's like a DK weight. So yes. So excited. So pretty. It's the color dark green, I think, which is number 19. It's the best. Happiest mail. But yes, I'm very excited for this to get here so I can start playing with the patterns. So yeah, that is my acquisition for the month. But I am still really trying hard to knit down my stash. That white sweater, my sweater number 11, used up a lot of yarn from my stash, which is great. The purple yarn's been in my stash for quite a while, so I'm trying to knit down my stash. So yeah, that's it for today. That's all I have for you. I still think it managed to be close to an hour, but I hope you guys enjoyed a little chat today. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. I hope May goes well for you. Like I said earlier, it's going to be a very busy month for me, so I'm not sure how much I'll have to talk about later on for the May video, but we will see. I'm sure I'll find time to knit things. So yeah, that is all I have to say to you today. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're hanging in there. I hope you're enjoying the lovely spring weather wherever you are, and I will see you soon.